Hey guys, and welcome to QualityShot. Now, England have drawn the fourth Test match, and it's almost as if it's one of the best draws of all time. Not even a victory, but a draw. The SCG, and look, England showed some fight, so fair play to them. But let's put it in context. It's a dead rubber. England are 3-0 down the series. They haven't won a single match. They're probably not going to win the fifth Test match, and most likely will, if at best, draw it. The Ashes are gone and they are in tatters. They've got huge glaring weaknesses. And what is there to be happy about? The tail enders showed some fight. Great. That's not what they're there to do. I mean, people comparing it to the India draw against Australia last year in that series where obviously India won 2-1. It's a stupid comparison because India went on to win that series 2-1, right? They actually won a match, not just one, but won the whole series. The Ashes away from England is becoming more and more like a one-sided affair. Something that, honestly, is actually off-putting, to be fair. After the first couple of Test matches, I just became disinterested, watching in the background, but barely paying attention almost, because it just didn't become enjoyable to watch. And it just hasn't really been that enjoyable. I'm a lover of cricket, but when it's not competitive, it just becomes repetitive and predictable. And that's not what you want. And it's a shame because the Ashes has this glamour around it. And look, I get why, the history, the prestige. In the UK, it is definitely a great competition. And we've seen that over, X amount of years in the last 15, 20 years. In Australia, it's not the same spectacle because Australia is just so much more dominant than England, and they have the tools at their disposal are so much bigger than England's in Australia as well. No pun intended. But it pains me because there's Test matches like South Africa versus India, which is very competitive, running parallel. That series on top of Bangladesh versus New Zealand, where Bangladesh actually won that first Test match in New Zealand against New Zealand, the World Test champions. And it's a shame. It's a real shame because those Test matches should get more coverage. I mean, the coverage of the draw was all over the place. I mean, all over BBC Sport, all over Sky Sports, all over ESPN Cricket Info, all over all Instagram. And I'm just thinking to myself, they're making a big deal out of nothing. If it had some type of significance, if it was even 2-0, you might think, hold on, well, okay, they've drawn this, they can still at least draw the series. That's not the case. So really, really disappointing, I think, from an England point of view, just in general, the whole series. There were some, or very, very briefly touch upon some of the highlights from the Test match because, look, I don't want to go into it too much, honestly, just because they don't really mean much. It's a friendly in the sense of the series. In terms of individual performances, it will probably mean quite a bit because it will set people up for future series. Of course, there's still, including this one, 2 Test matches left. So it's a time for people to start to stake claims, especially on the Aussie side as well, when they've come in for injured players to stake claims for future tours. Same with people, to be fair, in the England side, because people are now being given chances. The Ashes are gone. So obviously the most notable one is Khawaja, and what a class player he is. In my opinion, he's in the top 4 batsmen in Australia. Top 4 batsmen in Australia in Test cricket. Ricky Ponting said, I think he said the same thing. He said top 4 or 5 batsmen in Australia, I think. He said how he doesn't get into the starting 11 is just incredible. 137 in the first innings, and I think it's 101 not out in the second innings. And that was a very well-paced 100 as well. 73 strike rate, 2 sixes, 10 fours. A really, really impressive knock nonetheless. And I have to say that, honestly, how he will not be in the team for the next Test match would absolutely astound me. They should just drop Marcus Harris. He's there as a stopgap for Will Pucovski anyway. They're hoping that obviously he recovers from his concussion. Just drop Marcus Harris, chuck Khawaja in there. I think he's got an average of something ridiculous, like 96 opening the batting. He's only played 7 Test matches, and most of those, if not all of them, have been in Australia, to be fair. But nonetheless, he is a quality player. Get him in there. Let him open. Why not? He's in great form, and I'm assuming the reason why they will also do that is because they want to bring Travis Head in, who was under a lot of scrutiny but scored that big 100, scored some runs since. I think they will slot him back into 5, and Khawaja should come in for Harris. Look, they've given. I know they wanted to give Harris the whole series. They've given him 4 Test matches, and he's scored 1 score. Is it good enough? Not really. Khawaja's come in and he scored a double, 2 tons in 1 Test match. What do you want to say? On a pretty challenging deck, in that first innings anyway. I mean, look, apart from that 416, all scores are below 300 in this Test match, so it says a lot. In terms of other performers, obviously a 5 for Broad in the first innings, so yeah, good for him. Getting some wickets, considering that Joe Root actually had more Test wickets than him, I think, before the start of this series, which was pretty embarrassing. Although, to be fair, he hasn't played many Test matches, it has to be said, but not a great stat to have. Anyways, Bairstow, I mean, it's crazy, right? We keep on saying, and I keep on saying, they just need to move on from him. I still think they need to, despite this 100, but it was a phenomenal 100. It really was. Imperious, 113 off 158, similar to Khawaja's second ton. 8 4s and 3 6s. Stokes with a 66 as well, looked pretty good. Disappointed the way he got out. He was just a little bit indecisive, trapped LBW by Lyon, but he was pretty good as well. Boland came in, they repaid the faith that they had in him. Or sorry, he has repaid the faith that Australia have put in him for this Test match after doing really well in the last match. Come in, they've stuck with him, and he's got a 4 for Michael Nisa. You will never see him in another Australian white jersey again by the looks of it, because Jai Richardson is going to come back in as well. So that's crazy to say. Cam Green is an interesting one. He managed to get some runs. He got 74 for 122. Good to see him get some runs because he's been struggling with the bat. With the ball, he's looked okay. But he's actually put down as a batting all-rounder. So hasn't really been the case from the outside looking in. But those are some much-needed runs. I don't know if there is an air for concern. Obviously, Smith got 67 in the first innings. Labuschagne got 28 and then 29. A couple of starts and got out. Obviously, before this series, I think the lowest score he had in Test cricket for first innings was 47, I want to say. It's in the 40s. Now, obviously, got out for a single digit last Test match, and then he, in the first innings, now he's got out for 28 and then 29 in the second. Could this be a slight dip in form? We shall see. Smith as well. I know he got 50 in the first innings, but second innings, again, 23. Leach cleaned him up. There's some question marks there. Not to say that, of course, no way they're going to get dropped. It's just more, have we seen the best of Smith's days? And Labuschagne, is he now starting to, like, he's had an incredible start to his Test career. Is this going to be his first so-called slight dip in form? Let's see. But anyways, didn't matter because Khawaja got 100 and so did, so Green got 74. Leach got a 4 for in the second innings, which will give him some confidence, to be fair. But then they declared and England came out, tried to obviously bat out the overs. Crawley made a very, very imperious 77 off 100 balls. I think he will be disappointed he didn't eat up more deliveries because that was the name of the game, which, to be fair, Hamid did 9 off 58. He's under pressure, though, because since making those first 2 20s in the first innings and second innings of the first Test match, he hasn't scored many runs whatsoever. So that's a big, big question mark. I would suggest, and a lot of people are saying that they give him at least I think it's the West Indies tour in March, and then maybe assess after that. I think he looked good in the first Test match, didn't get any 50s, though, or 100s. Since then, he's got some good balls. Some have just been a bit loose in the way he's got out. I think he's a good player. He just, needs a bit of tweaking. Let's see. Stokes again was 60 in the second innings, so finding some form with the bat, which is a good sign for England. At 5, Bairstow with 41. And then, it was a case of Broad and Anderson just blocking out really towards the end, which they did pretty well. Well, Broad did 8 off 35. Leach was 26 off 34, playing a relatively counter-attacking knock. Interesting to say the least. Bowling figures there, bowling with 3 as well. So miserly. Smith was bowling, ragging it towards the end. Steve Smith, that is, 4 overs out the rough. Picked up a wicket and a maiden and only 10 runs from his 4, but didn't manage to get the job done even, at the end. So very, very interesting. Labuschagne bowled a couple as well. So yeah, England, great escape. No, not really, but a good, valiant, effort from a team who are licking their wounds, yes. Should they be extremely happy with the draw? No, I think they'll just think, look, thank God we didn't get embarrassed again. That's what they probably will be thinking. And they should hopefully go into the 5th test match with a bit of pride to say, let's win this one, at least lose the test series 3-1, because to be honest with you, it looked like it was going to be 5-0. So yes, there's nothing to write home about if you lose 3-1, but it's much better than going home 4-0 or 5-0 down. So England hopefully will be able to do something. Australia, as I said, at home, imperious. And when people aren't scoring runs, for example, Labuschagne didn't this test match, Khawaja just stepped up, bang down the runs like it was easy. And a fantastic celebration as well, the LeBron James celebration. So well done to him. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Please remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, of course. And please do click the notification bell as well to get alerted to all new videos. Should be doing some live streams on some of the test matches coming up. Apologies for the lack of, I guess, live streams. It's just been hectic, time differences, and also with the restart of work. So do get involved, do support us, so that, who knows, maybe one day I could do this full time, which would be amazing. And then you'd get all the streams you'd like. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe, and I'll see you on the next video.